on a Wednesday afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by. We've got plenty to recap from yesterday. We will get to a little K-State versus Baylor. We'll also talk a little Royals baseball. We know who's going to start the very first spring training game for the Royals coming up on Friday. That is right. Friday, folks. Fulton won't be any help whatsoever on Friday because the Royals will have their very first spring training game, and it's going to start at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to have to pull extra work and extra weight on Friday because you're going to be dialed in for the Royals' first spring training. Can you believe it's just like right here?
I'm so happy.
Like, it's so close. It really is.
I'm so happy. I'm just going to ride the happy feelings until they go away, which, man, do I hope we can at least get through April this time. Man, do I hope we can get through April this time.
So we'll talk a little Royals, talk a little hoops, talk a little NFL free agency, and a little bit of college discussion as well. All of that coming up today here on this edition of Mic'd Up. Let us know your thoughts. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line. It's really easy. You can yell at us. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty part of it, is you can send us a text and let us know your thoughts. 785-272-9429. Check us out on YouTube. Very simple, very easy. Go to youtube.com, Sports on 580. Send us a tweet at SportsOn580. Very easy. Let us know in the comments section. A lot of ways that you can yell at us and say, Nana Nana Boo Boo, you guys suck at predicting, because that's what occurred. Tip of the cap to Jerome Tang and the Cats, as the Cats looked awesome.
They looked great
yesterday. And K-State got through the dog days of basketball. The worst part of the basketball season for any player is in the middle of February, because you've played already 20 games and you're tired. You're going through the same routine, especially in the Big 12, when it is crazy difficult to go through the Big 12. But then you get your second win. We all hear about that. You know, there are a lot of second wins. Second win when you're eating, oh man, I got that second win. Now I can eat a little bit more. Yeah, it's
when you're at the buffet and you're like, man, I can't go get a fourth plate. And then, sitting there for a little bit like, hey, fourth plate, here we come.
Fourth plate's a bit aggressive, but
it's a bit aggressive, but
same thing on when you're having an adult beverage or two.
Yep.
Oh, I got my second win. I'm feeling good,
Got the rally.
And it occurred for Kansas State. You could see they played differently. Even Jerome Tang in the post-game press conference yesterday said that we looked energized. Keontae Johnson has not played an entire basketball season in 2 years, but got his second win, got their legs underneath them, the win against Iowa State, and then you got another top 10 win against Baylor in a game that was the complete opposite of what went down in Waco. And that's a testament to this K-State team, because when they were clicking and they looked like the Golden State Warriors, scoring 116 against Texas and 97 against Baylor. Folks, this game was over when K-State was up 65-55 with 2 minutes to go. They held Baylor to 55 points with 2 minutes left. The game was over at that point in time. Baylor scored 10 points the last 2 minutes, and it didn't mean anything. I told, I gave this example. The final score is 75-65. And you're like, okay, 75-65. But in all reality, the final score was 65-55. It's when the Chiefs are up 31-17, right? They're up by 14. They punt the football. There's 2 minutes to go in the game. and the opposing team scores a touchdown late with a minute to go. And so the final score is 31-24, right? That wasn't the final score, man. That's garbage time touchdown. That's Deshaun Watson time, man. Got to pump up them stats. Got to get them numbers up. You know what I'm talking about?
It's, prime Matt Stafford season.
So the final score is 67-55. They held Baylor to 55 points in that game. And credit Kansas State's defense, because it was 43-43 with 14 minutes to go in that game. K-State goes on a 14-2 run, and those 2 points were free throws. Baylor went 7 minutes without a field goal. K-State was then up by 11 with 7 minutes to go and basically played back and forth ball the rest of the way. And I think the difference is K-State is learning how to play a more lower scoring type of game, whereas in the earlier part of the season, they were scoring high scoring. But they just look so much more fresh.
Yeah,
that's what they look like to me.
That's the biggest thing that I saw last night. And when I've been, listening to Jerome Tang in press conferences after games and watching this team play, and even remarked on it last night after the game, it's never really been an effort or locked-in issue for his team. He says there was been, about 2 games this year where he'd say, and the TCU blowout was one, where he was like, our team just wasn't locked in at all. He said every other time that they've played poorly, it's just they've been tired. They had no legs, is the direct way he describes it. And he said last night he was like, we finally are fresh. Our legs are underneath us. He said playing back-to-back games at home was huge with the rest and things they were able to do. And that's the difference. And Tang has also remarked on that's going to be his goal kind of the rest of the year is how can he keep them ready without burning the legs out? And I think we saw if K-State is fresh, if they are not just, kind of run down, this team's still really good.
Oh,
and,
for sure.
and I think that, everything will kind of run just on how fresh they can be. And that's what's going to come into play with these final 3 regular season games, just how fresh can K-State be. But, last night, that team was locked in. They were playing aggressively on defense, and that was some of the best executed offense I've seen out of K-State all year. Marquise Noel had 10 assists to 0 turnovers. It was a joy to watch Marquise Noel run in offense last night with some of the passes he was making the way he was playing. He didn't have a shot, but man, did he just pass that ball so well.
When you look at the stat, I thought this was incredible. When were you born again?
1996.
Okay, since you've been born.
Okay.
All right.
So the past 27 years.
Since 96, against an AP top 10 opponent, there's only been 12 people in college basketball to have double-digit assists and 0 turnovers against the top 10 opponent. That's incredible.
That's insane.
And they had 19 points off turnovers.
Yeah.
Baylor had 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5.
And that's
incredible.
It's huge. And that's been like when we talk about K-State, that's even a month. Our big thing's always been they have to stop turning the ball over. They have to value the basketball. They're averaging nearly 20 turnovers a game in losses, where in wins it's closer to 13. It's always been about can K-State stop the silly turnovers, stop the mental mistakes, and value possessions. They had 7 turnovers last night. 7. I don't care who you are. You can beat most teams with only 7 turnovers. There's very few teams you're going to lose to if you only turn the ball over 7 times.
If you only turn the ball over 7 times, then either your defense is garbage or you could not throw it in the ocean.
Or truly you just could not throw the ball in the ocean.
That's it.
And that wasn't K-State last night.
And that was great to see. And Keontae Johnson, he
had his first good game in a month.
He looked like the Keontae Johnson that started Big 12 season. He really, really did. And so that was fantastic to see if you're Kansas State to get that win against Baylor. And now they've got they've got 9 quad 1 wins. We said if they get this win, they have 9 quad 1 wins. That is 4th in the country, tied for 4th in the country. You have the same amount of quad 1 wins as the Purdue Boilermakers in this situation. They've got 9 quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
K-State has got now 9 quad 1 wins. That's incredible. And I think now, barring losing 3 in a row to finish the year and losing in the first round of the Big 12 tournament, which they now might be a 3 seed.
Yeah, as of right now, they'd be the 3.
And they have a game and a half edge over Baylor because they've got the tiebreaker over Baylor. So the odds of K-State staying at the 3 spot is even greater because Baylor still has to play Texas. Baylor has a much tougher schedule. They split with Iowa State. So they got the tiebreaker over Iowa State.
I don't know when the head-to-head gets split, where we go after that.
Well, the way you get split to head-to-head, normally the way you do things is, all right, you're tied with Baylor. You beat Baylor straight up 2-0. You get the tiebreaker. Against Iowa State, you split 1-1. Then normally you go with best win. Well, K-State and Iowa State both beat KU. So they went 1-1 there. So now you go to Texas. All right, let's go to Texas. Did Iowa State beat Texas this year?
I think they got swept by Texas. It depends.
No, they beat Texas.
Oh, they beat them in Hilton? Yeah,
so
they did.
They beat them in Hilton. Okay, so now they're even on that. So then you go to the next best team. Who's the next best team? Well, it's Kansas State. So that doesn't really factor in there. The next best team, it's Baylor. Did Iowa State sweep Baylor? They beat Baylor. They still have to play Baylor.
They end the year at Baylor.
So now it comes down to that. If Iowa State and K-State are tied, but Baylor beats Iowa State at the end of the year, then K-State earns the tiebreaker because
K-State swept Baylor.
They swept Baylor and Iowa State did not.
Yep.
So that at least that's how I look at it. I'm not for sure. We still got 3 games of basketball left. I mean, Iowa State could lose to Oklahoma, West Virginia, lose to Baylor. Who knows? But there's a great chance they're the 3 seed. And if you win just one of those final games, I think K-State is no questions asked, locked into a 4 seed.
See, I'd say right now, even I'm almost willing to say that they're a 4 seed no matter what now.
Even if they lose,
even if they lose out,
even if they lose 4 straight games.
If they lose 4 straight, I might start questioning it. But I feel very confident they're at least a 4 right now because going into this game, they've been projected as a 3. In most brackets, they're a 3 right now.
But they're projecting because they don't think they're going to lose 4 in a row.
Yeah,
that's
and I understand that. I understand.
I'm going like worst case scenario where you finish 9-9 in the conference because if they lose the next 3, and then you lose your first game of the Big 12 tournament, that's 4 in a row. I can see them dropping.
I could. And, because what are K-State's final 3 games here?
At Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, at West Virginia.
There's one bad loss in there. Let's see if we lose to Oklahoma. That's your only bad loss in there.
But that's
losing to Oklahoma State ain't a bad loss.
And that's why if you just win one of those games and you go 10-8 in the conference, I think they will be no worse than a 4 seed.
I agree.
And that's worst case scenario. But and that's incredible. Stop and think about this. Kansas State right now, they are ranked 14th in the country. We didn't even know if they'd be they had 2 guys on their roster at the end of, or at the beginning of April. End of April?
Somewhere in April, May.
They had 2 guys on their roster. That is it. And now we are discussing just if they can win one of their final 3 games, that they're going to be a top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament and have a chance to play in Des Moines, which is a 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
Like, that is incredible.
Yeah, I just, and I know most K-State fans out there do not need this advice to be told to them, but do not lose sight of how miraculous this run is.
It's just stupid.
It's entirely based on the fact of this is a group of guys that had not played basketball together when August had come around. They'd never played They'd never played hoops together, not once.
Well, I mean, they did in the summertime because their team.
Well, I like when the final full roster came together. That's why I used kind of July and August. Like every guy, the roster was solidified, and they had not played game together, and they had not played it like a competitive game with each other. Jerome Tang had never been a Division I head coach. Now, he'd been a great assistant for 19 years. He'd never run the ship at this level. And let's be honest, K-State's past couple seasons weren't great. Now, when you change over the entire team, that does change things, but you didn't know how this was going to be.
That's incredible.
And you are sitting here in the first year under Jerome Tang, and you're going to be a 3 or a 4? That is just a better first year could not have been expected.
And they could get to a 2.
If they win out, like let's say they win the final 3 and they win, let's say they make to the finals of the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City.
Oh, they're easily a 2. Easily a 2.
Because they'd knock off at least one of those teams that's a 2 ahead of them.
I think
they'd have to probably beat Baylor or Texas again.
I think if let's say you go 1-2 the rest of the, or 2-1 the rest of the way, let's say you win 2 games and you lose 1 game.
Yeah.
So you finish 12-6 in Big.
Yeah.
No, you'd finish
because if they win out the Big 12,
it'd be 11-7. Let's say
11-7 if they go 2-1.
Let's say they go 11-7, and you win your first round. Let's say you beat the 6th seed, which will be, let's say it's going to be
TCU right now.
Yeah, let's say you beat TCU again, and then if they go 2-1 the rest of the way, and finish 11-7 in the conference, and then you win your first game.
Let's beat TCU, then you'd probably have to play Texas, let's say.
Yeah, I think
as the 2.
I think if you get to the semifinals, you're a borderline.
You're knocking on the door of a 2.
And
if they were to match up with Texas and they beat Texas, they've beaten Texas 2 out of 3 times this year.
I think they're a 2 seed.
And Texas is the one on that 2 line. You'd have to give it hard consideration.
Yeah.
You'd have to think about it. And if they aren't a 2, they're one of the top 2 3s, which guarantees they're in Des Moines.
Yeah, that's incredible.
If they make it to the semifinals in Kansas City, they're going to Des Moines. Guaranteed.
We got a lot to get to. We'll talk more K-State with Kellis Robinett. We'll get to a little Royals. We'll get to a little college realignment because that's back in the discussion. It never goes away. Lots to get to. Let us know your thoughts on the K-State from the Big O Tires text line. Sandstorm was electric last night. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, it was. They turned the lights off and everybody used their phones. That was pretty. Dan Lucero, who was at the game for the station, he said it was one of the coolest things. That was pretty sweet. It really, really was. Coming up next, we will get to some more thoughts. We'll talk a little NFL as well. Plenty to get to on this Wednesday. A photo day today for the Kansas City Royals. Or are they going to see some video of the full powder blue?
Lord, I hope so. But I also stand if they want to try and keep that fully under wraps to opening day.
You think they're going to wear those opening day?
They've confirmed it.
Are they really?
They have confirmed it. Opening day is powder on powder's back.
I have to watch.
Like they have fully confirmed it. Opening day, they're wearing powder on powder.
No kidding. Opening day for the Royals is
March 30th against the Twins, 3:10 first pitch.
March 30th.
Yep, it's a Thursday.
I'm going to have to watch that.
The classic opening day on a Thursday, random off day on a Friday. Series finishes up on the weekend.
Yeah. You gotta
I get it because of weather, because then it's easy to move it, but it's just annoying. Just give it to me, because the thing is, they're going to give me that Thursday, and then I'm not going to have it for one day, and it's going to hurt me.
No, you're just like Brendan. Brendan gets irate because of this.
Listen, I'm with Brendan. All the off days that first month suck.
No.
They're annoying.
It is not.
It's annoying.
You want to talk about getting upset and frustrated and annoyed over the absolute smallest, most who cares trivial thing?
Yes.
That's off days in April.
Yes. I'll admit to that.
You guys are ridiculous.
It's solved easy with the scheduling. You stop having cold weather teams play if they have an outdoor stadium. You play just all your games in the South.
It ain't that big of a deal.
Or you play in domes.
Or you take the day off. It ain't that big a deal,
you
man.
know the off days.
Why not?
They're frustrating.
Why? They're gonna play the next. It's not that big of a. Plus, they'd rather play. If it doesn't work out on Thursday, you can play on Friday. If it doesn't,
I know.
Like, you guys are just. That's a weird hill to die on. Let's put it that way.
Well, I have a lot of those.
Well, that one's probably the number one.
It might be. I have a few.
Goodness gracious. Coming up next, the college football world might be changing again. We'll get to that coming up next. Little Royals baseball. We'll get to that as Daniel Lynch starting the Cactus League opener on Friday. Does that mean he's in the rotation because he's starting game number 1 for the Kansas City Royals?
Yes and no. Also means some guys are getting ready to leave for the World Baseball Classic. Like Brady's not going to pitch at all in spring training probably because he's going to be with the World Baseball Classic.
Where's that at this year?
I mean, I can't remember where the USA's first site is. I know the final rounds, I think, are going to be in Miami this year, but the opening ones are, depending on where you are, different group play sites.
Yeah.
I cannot remember. I will probably figure that out here shortly. But like Bobby's not going to be at spring training. Brady's not going to be at spring training. MJ's going to be leaving here shortly.
He's going to play for
I believe MJ's playing for Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Vinny and Nikki are going to go play for Italy.
Yep.
Which Nikki playing for Team Italy was the weirdest thing I found out.
No, that's not. That really doesn't shock me.
I just didn't know he had Italian heritage. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nikki Lopez is not as Italian as name as Vinny Pasquantino. Yeah, so
Gabagoo. I mean,
but like Vinny and Nikki are doing that. Salvador Perez is going to be leaving.
Yeah, Venezuela
To go to Venezuela. Same thing for Carlos Hernandez and a few. Yeah, play for Team Venezuela.
Yes.
Carlos Hernandez and company going to leave too. So I mean, Dan's just one of the few starting pitchers who's going to be there.
Yeah.
So that and just also if I had to pick one young guy not named Brady to say is in the rotation, Dan's the guy I pick.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign. It is a good sign they want to get him an early look. And hopefully he pitches well.
Hopefully. New beginnings.
Hope springs eternal.
New beginnings.
Until it all crashes and burns.
Until they lose game number 1 and they're 0-1 and they won't get above 500 ever again.
I won't go that far. I can't lie. I'll be a little bummed if this era starts off with a loss, but they're playing Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team.
If
the Twins are my pick to win the Central.
And we'll get to that. I mean, there's a lot.
We'll get to a lot of things there, but spoiler alert, I would say the Twins are winning the division.
All right. If the Royals lose, and they are 0-1, tell me right now, will they get back above 500?
Yes.
So you think they'll eventually they'll be either 2-1, they'll win their next 2, or
it's like 4-3, might get to like 6-5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's if they lose game 1.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just because they go 0-1 doesn't mean they'll never be at 500 or above 500 all year.
I mean, that's not a...
No, it'll be fun. Because they're playing a very good team in Minnesota to start. Like, this is one of their tougher opening day opponents.
It has nothing to do, to me, with that. It's just the fact that then, like, hold on. I mean,
the Royals start the year with, a difficult schedule.
I don't think it matters who they play. I mean, the Royals are the Royals. Folks, if you haven't figured it out,
join me in the optimism.
I'm not that optimistic on the boys in blue this year.
But it doesn't help that they go, the Twins, then they have the Blue Jays, then they have the Giants, then they have the Rangers.
Would you like to amend your opinion here in your prediction?
No, they're still going to make. They will. If they start 0-1, they at some point will make it back to about 500. Even if they start 0-1, they will be at 500. And they'll be over. I'll say all American. They will get to over 500 at some point.
See, last year,
they started 2-1.
They started 2-0.
And they went to 2-2, and then things went real bad.
And then they went to 2-3, and then
things got real bad.
And then never sniffed above 500 after that. So that's why I'm saying it's losing game number 1.
Brother, I am going to hold the faith as long as I can. But the Royals opening month of April is not fun.
This is half full, isn't it?
I mean, yes, also because that is just objectively almost 3/4 full. Like, objectively, that's almost full.
It is a full.
Like, that's a bad prop to use.
Hold on. I can change that.
Yeah, string us down near the halfway point.
Now, is it half full or half empty?
It's half full.
Glass
half full kind of guy.
Let's get to, with the Royals, you are especially.
And then it gets to real empty real fast.
And then after the month, after 2 weeks, and you're like, but this year's different, right?
For now.
This year's different because it is new.
And then something will happen and I'll change my tune.
There's a lot of smoke right now going around the college world for what's going to happen with the Pac-12. So the Big 12 released their media deal, and it was, to me, a terrific one.
Mm-hmm.
I am a realist, and I go, they're never going to get to the Big 10. They're never going to get to the SEC.
Nope. Those guys are in their own class over there.
That's just that's like saying, well, I think the Royals payroll should be $200 million. It'll never be $200 million. Happen. It never will. You just have to realize that. Live in the real world, okay?
Be pragmatic.
The Big 12 getting $50 million a year, it's going to be the third best conference. It's the SEC, the Big 10, then the Big 12, and then the ACC.
And then the Pac-12,
and then the
they're
Pac-12. Terrible. And the Pac-12 right now, outside of some very leaning Pac-12 media, thinks that, oh, well, the Pac-12 is going to be just fine. We've got this. We got Oregon. We got Washington. And we're going to be fine. Well, everyone else, ESPN, The Athletic, Sports Business Journal, and now there's some discussion and rumors going around that the Pac-12 is having a hard time finding suitors. And what's going to happen with the Pac-12? There's some reports that says we'll find out within the next 2 months what the TV deal is going to end up being. But from Andrew Marchand, who does a great job with the TV media biz, says this: with ESPN, Amazon Prime, and Fox lukewarm on the Pac-12, Apple could end up being the platform for the Pac-12. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kilikoff could present Apple as a possibility to his schools, according to sources, where the universities would be interested in a potential all-streaming deal and whether the teams would end up being good enough to prevent schools from departing to other conferences has yet to be determined. If the Pac-12 goes full stream, no broadcast, that is a death blow to the Pac-12.
Yes.
There is no coming back from that. No. You cannot be full stream. The leagues that could do full stream are the SEC and the Big 10 Because there is enough.
Those fan bases are so rabid.
They are. There's enough
Yeah.
people out there who would be willing to buy a completely separate streaming entity to watch the game.
Like Georgia fans, you could tell them, all right, the only way you're going to do this, guys, is you got to pay $30 a month. We're going to be on this specific app. That's what you got. Georgia fans will go, here's my credit card.
Yes.
Without a second thought.
Every SEC.
And this is, I
but
think.
Not just Georgia. I'm talking
every SEC team. Vanderbilt fans would do that.
Yeah,
because
Bama fans would do it.
Yeah, the SEC is psychotic.
Yeah.
So the Pac-12's problem, and I think this whole idea of how about if a streaming-only plan could goes to the overall problem with the Pac-12 in general, and why their media deals are I think even also having issues taking stock off the ground is they probably have the least rabid fan base. It's just a very laid-back group of fans, and I don't mean that disparagingly, but just no Oregon fan is going to you search out 20 pounds of things to, they'll either go to the stadium or if they can't watch it, they can't. USC and UCLA are in the heart. And now, of course, they're going to the Big Ten, so it's entirely different. But even when they were, with the Pac-12 fully, they only get talked about when they're good. When they're not good, the city of LA, a big city, a big market, does not care.
And I don't think it's Oregon and Washington.
And listen, Eugene and Seattle don't care.
They've got fan bases who really do watch it, and numbers showed. But it's Colorado, it's Arizona, it's Arizona
the
State.
Rest of your conference.
It's Stanford, it's Cal.
Yeah.
Washington State has a great following, but they have 500,000 fans. That's it.
It's in tiny old Pullman.
So I look at this, and if that is what you're doing, you cannot do that. There is no way that you could end up doing that if you are the Pac-12, which if that does
you mean you're becoming the MAC.
Yes. Yeah. Stream only. No, you can't do that.
No.
So then what are the schools in the Pac? To me, the next big step, the number's not going to be good enough. So the next big step to me in this is, what are Oregon and Washington going to do?
No.
Are Oregon and Washington going to sign with the big or the Pac-12 and just do what they can do and just hope and pray that the Big Ten says, hey, USC and UCLA need a travel partner, so we'll go with those four. That'll be a pod for them. USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. And then you've got another pod will be like Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, and Wisconsin. That's another pod. And then you go with Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, and somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's the only hope for Oregon and Washington. Or do you say, let's join the Big 12 and it will be Oregon, Washington, and BYU, and throw in another one. Maybe you say Colorado, and so then you got those three. That type. Like, what are they going to do? I think if you are Cal and Stanford and Oregon State and Washington State, you might as well throw out an invite to San Diego State and Fresno State, and then you become just a little bit better than the Mountain West, if you will. So there's a lot of problems that are going on in the Pac-12 right now that could be a huge deal. It really, really could. So I find it that, you know what, the Big 12 and the Pac-12 people are in their feelings right now because they are where the Big 12 was not last year, not the year before. They were where the Big 12 was back, 6-7 years ago when we were an afternoon away from Texas and Oklahoma joining the Pac-12. And KU and K-State were on the verge of joining the Mountain West. That's what Washington State, Oregon State are potentially doing because and if you are Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado, when do you all shoot them, a group message between those 4 schools and say, hey, we cannot.
What do the 4 corner schools do?
We cannot wait. We might as well jump ship now and just save what we can and hope that the Big 12 sees some value in us. Because the Big 12 is going to be down to 12 teams. You add 4 more, that's 16. You can do the pod system once the Big 12 leaves, or once Texas and Oklahoma leave, which is after this year.
Yeah, this is the final year of Texas, Oklahoma, the Big 12.
So I look at that as a huge decision for the college football world. You know, I don't remember where I saw this, but it said, you know, if you were in charge of sports, what would be one thing that you would do? And the number one thing that I would do in sports, if it's anything involving sports, I would be in charge of where conferences go, because the Big 8 would be back together. That's what I would do. If I could be the czar of everything, you know, it's Missouri is back in the conference. Oklahoma's back in the conference. Colorado's back in the conference. Nebraska's back in the conference. That is what I would do. I don't care about anything else. I would put Texas and Texas A&M back together, and it would be whole. You'd have West Virginia and Pittsburgh playing like I would go back to the way it was back in the good old days. That's my number one thing, and it's not even a question. Like it bothers me so much that K-State is not going to play Oklahoma and Nebraska maybe ever again.
Yeah,
in football. It irritates me to no end. I understand why. I don't like it, but I that's what sucks. It really, really does. And the Pac-12, which has, you know, it's the Conference of Champions, according to Bill Walton. Yeah, it's gonna be
it's no longer the Conference of Champions.
Nobody now knows what they're gonna end up doing. So, I mean, that's where the Pac-12 is. Stream only. Yikes. I mean, yikes.
You gotta have a linear cable option.
You have to if you're college football.
Yeah. Your fan base hasn't transitioned to a fully younger market yet.
No, not even remotely close.
And I'm big on, you know, as things go, streaming is going to become more of a thing because the younger generation does it. It's become a more natural thing there. But for some sports, with some of the people you have, you can't. It's a balance point. College football cannot go full streaming. Not yet. And the Pac-12
I don't think they ever
cannibalize itself.
I don't know if they ever will. I don't know if they ever will.
It would require the entire world of entertainment going streaming for that to happen.
Yeah, you can't do that. You really
as long as linear cable exists, college football will exist on linear cable.
Yeah. Coming up next, we'll finish off this noon hour. We'll get to some Royals baseball chatter here on Mic'd Up. Our topic today is going to be Will Ferrell movies, and the reason why is 20 years ago, Old School came out, and it was a phenomenon. Frank the Tank, we're going streaking. I mean, just an epic movie. Come to find out, Fulton has not seen it.
Here we go.
So I ask you, Big O Tires texter,
here we
YouTube commenters, what is more egregious? The fact that Fulton has not seen Old School, or he has not seen Die Hard? Both are incredible that you've not seen either one of them. I am stunned that you haven't seen Old School, maybe more so than Die Hard. But it's honestly, it's appalling.
Appalling. That's the word we're using. Appalling.
Appalling that you haven't seen neither. Like, I get one of them, you slip through the cracks. You know what I mean? It happens. But both is unacceptable. Basketball season is coming to a close. We are changing this because we are. That's the beauty of
it's the beauty of the summer when we have nothing else going on.
Well, that and the beauty of executive privilege here.
That too.
That helps.
I only have so much say in this.
So we are going to rectify this situation. When I say we, I am part of this because I feel like I need to help you. I need you to help see the greatness of this movie.
Okay.
Paul Carr, former 580 staffer, the guru of minutia, he says it's more egregious that you have not seen Die Hard.
I know certain people in my life who would agree with Paul.
I don't agree with this texter because I know you.
Thank you.
But they are wondering if you're not an American. You are.
I was born on American soil, therefore I am an American because I am an American citizen.
But in the social landscape, they are probably wondering if you are an American.
I like baseball and apple pie. Do you guys need more out of me?
I am because I saw because what I was like, oh my gosh, Fulton, what we're gonna do for a list today is we'll do favorite scenes of Old School.
And I'm like, I haven't seen it, so we can't do that one.
I fell out of my chair.
He did. No one in my life has ever been like, hey, as I was growing up, we should watch Old School. And at this point, it's never been hey, I want to search this movie out.
And it was released in 2003. Which you would have been 9. I
would have been 7.
When were you born again?
1996.
96. Okay, yeah.
Also, if it's 20 years old, I'm 27.
Yeah.
I was 7.
Oh, forgot about that.
Yeah.
So you were 7. I get that. I was a
it's a little
senior.
Different. It came out when you were
But it's a classic.
So I've heard. I've never gotten around to watching it.
So our favorite, since we can't do that, Will Ferrell was, He was the star of the show in that one. So we're going to go with favorite Will Ferrell movie.
That works for me.
I don't even know. I mean, you've probably seen like crappy Will Ferrell movies, but not the gem. Ridiculous. Coming up, we're going to talk Royals baseball, and everyone loves the list. number 2 here on Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Levon, Fulton Caster with you on this Wednesday edition. Hit us up on our Big O Tires text line, 785-272-9429. Outside of Topeka, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts on this Wednesday. Fulton?
Yes, Jake.
We've got our very first Royals game on Friday.
Yeah, we do.
We're going to stay with the TV watching aspect of this. Bally Sports just announced a 25% off sale.
They did.
You can get the Bally's app, Bally's feed, Lefevre, Hudler, Joel, Monty, Royals baseball in your living room with no cable package. You don't need cable. You don't need Dish. You don't need DirecTV. You don't need YouTube TV. You don't need any of that. All you need is $15 a month. Is that priced correctly? For you to watch Royals baseball for 6 months, April, May, June, July, August, September, it's $90. Is Royals baseball worth $90 over the entire year? And you get it anywhere. You get it on your phone. You get it on an iPad. You can get it on your TV. $90 to watch the Royals play. Is that an egregious amount?
I don't think it's necessarily egregious. I think at a level it's fine, but at the same level, it kind of just depends on your feelings about the team in general and what you'd want to do. And, you know, the other part comes in, this is just Bally's product. Because that's the bigger thing for me when it comes to paying for apps, is it's not always just about the content. It's the delivery of the content.
Just how easy it is.
Yeah, and
does
Bally's, historically, their product sucks. Their broadcasts are janky. Accessing their stuff is bad. They'll shut off games early. Like, I think that's the other thing here is you're not just saying, you know, am I going to pay $15 for the Royals? It's, am I going to pay $15 for the Royals on Bally's? Whereas, like, $15 for the Royals on MLB.TV's app? Yes, no questions asked. If you told me I could pay $90 for the year and it'd be the solo team package and I could watch all the Royals games I wanted on MLB's product, would do it in a heartbeat, no questions asked. I would just hand you my credit card information. Because I think the value is about where it needs to be. Maybe a little high, but that just, I think, really comes to some you know, nickel and diming points. And then I would have no qualms about the delivery of the product.
And that, to me, is... I think $15 a month is reasonable. I do.
I really think it is. I think that it's closer to the right number.
I do. I think $15 a month is reasonable. The problem right now is baseball needs the casual viewer. That helps, to me, grow the game, is getting the casual viewer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, the biggest issue is how many casual fans right there. All right, you out there in Radio Land, okay? You're you know, it's 6 o'clock on a Thursday, and you just get done with dinner. 7 o'clock rolls around. Will you buy this product? Will you go out and get it? I mean, you have to actually go out and put your credit card information into it to get it. How many casual fans will do that? How many casual fans just are on their TV and flipping through, or what I do, okay? I am not. I'm a dinosaur. My wife and we like cable. I want to have the. I don't have to worry about internet. I want cable, and we are willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you flip on the guide, and we hit the guide, and then you scroll through, and oh yeah, the Royals are on. Oh, watch the Royals. Without a broadcast aspect of it, how big of a deal is that for baseball? I think greatly. I think that's a big issue. But for the casual fan, will you remember that 7:00 Royals are on? I'm going to go there. I think the price is fine.
Yeah, and I get your point. That's why Major League Baseball identifies that they still need a linear cable option, though.
Yeah.
For the people that would want to stream it that they don't have cable, this is probably the way it's going to have to be. And honestly, I think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's why Major League Baseball also knows we also do need the linear cable option for people like you're talking about that may not be technologically savvy. My own father's my greatest example to use. He would watch the Royals if they were on, but he would only be able to do it on a linear cable. That made him go and figure out how to use an app to save his life. I've made this very clear. I love my father. I love him to death. He's just very technologically doesn't know what he's doing. But yeah, so it's like
$15 good.
No, I think 15's fine. Yeah.
I do too. I think that's I
still think
number.
For especially a Bally's product in particular, it is still high. Yes.
I'm just talking strictly.
But straight, I think they're right in the ballpark. It's still on the higher part to see the Royals, but it's right in the ballpark. You're really close at that point.
Yeah.
20 was definitely too high. 20 was very much too high.
Yeah. From the Big O Tires text line, cable guy here streaming, still got a ways to go for me to change from hardwire.
And that's why I think things do need both options because because Texter, I think you make a good point. There are people like you still out there that want the hardwired cable option. That's fine.
Yeah.
I like the streaming option. I stream most of my things, so that's why I really do like it when things give me the streaming option. I like ESPN Plus. I like that they've created that.
The other benefit of that is that's everything to go. It's mobile. You can watch it on your phone anywhere.
And that's what
I
I like streaming so much. Is sometimes I'm not at home and it's easier for me to. Yep. I don't like to DVR things. I like to watch them live.
Yeah. That's how I watched the first half of the K-State Baylor game.
I like during these seasons.
I watched it on my phone.
Yeah, I like during these seasons where we have multiple stuff going on that while I'm at another thing, I can throw on the game on my phone. Yep. And it's easiest to do with streaming. So, but yes, I think they are getting close on price point. I really do.
Alrighty. Drew Waters was going to be the starting center fielder, I think.
Probably. He was in consideration.
For the Kansas City Royals. He is going to be out now for 6 weeks. He has got the Adalberto Mondesi injury, the oblique strain, which I find so unique that baseball play, and I understand why the tweaking and the movement.
Yeah, the rotation, your obliques are important, and if they're tweaked, it hurts.
But that football players don't get those. That is wild to me.
It's wild. You never hear the oblique strain for football players.
You're trying to tell me I don't turn and look real quick or turn.
I got nothing, man.
You don't hear that in football. Tennis. How is tennis? You're literally doing the same damn motion. But I don't. Roger Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, every one of them. Never heard of an oblique injury for tennis. Golf. How many golfers have oblique injuries? But for some stupid reason, the Royals are the king of them. But anyways, I'm bummed because I'm high on Drew Waters.
Yeah,
I am very high on Drew Waters, and I think this is going to derail his entire season because Drew Waters to me is a guy who last year, his rookie year, I thought he did pretty well. I really did. In 32 games, he had 5 homers. He had 12 extra base hits. His OPS was 800. Now, his batting average wasn't great, but that shows you he walks and he had some pop.
Yeah, his biggest issue is strikeouts.
And so he played well.
Yeah.
I mean, he was above average.
Yeah, he played well. I think
average.
his defense will play in center. He's got good speed. He's got done on the swing and miss stuff. And no, this is a problem because he's going to miss basically all spring training.
And he's going to miss the entire month of April.
More than likely, because obliques also are just a fickle thing to come back
from. It's not 6 weeks. Well, that's 6 weeks essentially from today is opening day.
Yep.
But then you can't really, and I'm just going with 6 weeks, and then he's going to need at least 2 weeks, probably in Omaha.
He'll have to do a rehab assignment. So no,
so you're looking at Waters there, and if there's any type of setback or he doesn't hit it well, I don't know if you're going to see Drew Waters in center field before May 1st, and that sucks. And here's the reason why. You and I differ.
Yes.
I don't think Kyle Isbell is a major league player.
Yes.
I don't think so.
You and I differ on this.
I have seen the back of Kyle Isbell's baseball card, and the one thing to me on Kyle Isbell's baseball card that I look for right now is a guy who, one, can't stay healthy, and two, hasn't produced. And is some of that because he didn't get consistent at bats? Some of that is that. But last year, he played in 106 games. That's not a lot. I understand that. But he was not good at the plate. I'm sorry. That's just the way it was.
No, you hit 211. I don't disagree.
And if is 256 at bats enough to say time to move on? No, it's not. But he's got 332 at bats. To me, hate this because Drew Waters doesn't get the opportunity, and he needs more at bats than Kyle Isbell, is what I would do. To me, if I was Matt Quatraro, Kyle Isbell, you are my fourth outfielder, and that's all I want you to be. I don't think he is a capable 162 inning outfielder in my view, whereas I think Drew Waters can be. And Drew Waters is also younger, and he's got one fewer year under his belt, and I think he already shows more pop, more promise than Kyle Isbell, which stinks because in order to give it, golf is a lot like baseball. You cannot win the golf tournament on Thursday. You can't. But you can sure as hell lose it on Thursday. If I go out and fire a 78 coming up at the Masters, you're done. You ain't winning it. You go 6-14 in the month of April, and you're the Royals? Congratulations. What does 2024 look like? We're back to where it was last year. And that's what sucks about this, that Drew Waters is in this situation. It really does suck for the Kansas City Royals. Outside of the rotation, this was the number one question on where and who is going to be playing. And to me, it wasn't, because it was going to be Drew Waters in center field. That's why you traded Michael A. Taylor this offseason. One, because he's not part of the future. And two, you thought Drew Waters was going to be the guy.
Well, I want to just get some thoughts here. And I always will come at this one very open. Yes, I'm still a supporter of Kyle Isbell. I want to be very clear about that so no one thinks I'm trying to hide that. You traded Michael A. Taylor to see which guy could win the job.
Yeah.
It was an open competition. To say it was foregone, it was Drew's job is an incorrect statement. Now, if the premise of that statement is you just think Drew would win the job, then yes, you can say it was Drew's job. But it was an open competition from the Royals who JJ Picollo and company said it is for both men to get a chance to win the job in spring training.
And JJ said that. I think deep down inside you have to say that because that way competition helps, right? Yes. I think if you gave JJ Picollo truth serum, they want Drew Waters and they would rather Drew Waters be there. And this is just me saying this when I said Drew Waters is center field. If I were in charge of the Kansas City Royals, it would not be an open competition in behind closed doors. If it's just Matt Quatraro and JJ Picollo and the Royals brass. No, Drew Waters gets every single at bat.
And I think that's a false thing to do.
Because you think that Isbell can
it's because I do not think Kyle Isbell's been given a fair opportunity to be an everyday center fielder. Because defensively, Kyle Isbell is better, and that will never change. Kyle Isbell is the best defensive center fielder on this roster. He was the best player last year. Not tied for something, was the best player in Major League Baseball amongst every man who played center field in getting jumps and reading routes on a baseball. Best one without a shadow of a doubt.
I don't disagree with that. And this is where you and I differ on the value. I just need you to be. Drew Waters is a capable center fielder.
Yes, and
he is. He's a capable center.
And I'm not saying that just because he's an elite defender in center that he should get the job, but it's also Kyle Isbell, I think, had something go wrong with his swing mechanics last year that caused a problem. Because it was a limited sample size, but in the exact same limited sample size Drew Waters had this year, Kyle Isbell the year prior hit 276 in his 28 games. Is his power potential maybe lower? Potentially. And I think that does matter. Kyle Isbell also hits the crap out of the baseball. His average exit velocity is nearly 90 miles an hour.
And see,
Drew's is 81.
And that's where I
think he deserves the opportunity. Yeah. If he loses out to Drew, I think he's a capable fourth outfielder. But he deserves the opportunity. And see, is my biggest thing. I think you do not give up a guy at 26 years of age. He turns 26 next week. You do not give up a guy at 26.
That's why, to me, in this situation, this is Kyle Isbell's chance.
Yes, no, I agree. This is his one shot.
You've got. Yes, this is it.
Yes, no, I 100. If he can't produce while Drew's down, I agree. Go to Drew. I agree 100%.
Him. I would not. To me, Kyle Isbell's a good fourth outfielder.
Yes, I agree too.
That's what he would do.
But I think this is his opportunity to win the starting job. And if he performs poorly going into May, and Drew gets healthy, then I'm fully on board with going to Drew. But I think Kyle Isbell deserves and has earned an opportunity to try to be an everyday center fielder because he hasn't gotten that yet in 2 years.
And that's the biggest position battle to me.
Yes, no, that is the number one position battle, center.
Well, not anymore because it's
well,
Kyle
yeah,
Isbell.
not anymore because Drew's hurt. Else.
But yes, yeah. And then second base, the other question,
which is Nicky or Massey, but that's kind of
I really don't care on that situation. Coming up next, Fulton has never seen Old School, so it's not going to be in Old School, but we'll rank our Will Ferrell movies. Everyone loves the list. Today, Old School turns 20 years young. How about that? I would reference Old School and say, "You're my boy, Blue," but Fulton has no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's where that comes from?
Has no idea.
Oh, I didn't know that's where that came from.
So we are going with
today.
Favorite Will Ferrell movies. And
yes,
I'm going to guess all of mine you haven't seen. So we probably can't even talk about them.
So hush it.
What do you got for number 4?
Number 4 for me, The Campaign is an underrated movie with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis. Hilarious.
Okay.
Fantastic movie.
Number 4 to me is Talladega Nights.
Beautiful film. Fantastic movie. No notes, perfection.
This is terrific.
I love Talladega Nights.
Yeah,
number 3 for me, Step Brothers. Hilarious. Good movie. Very fun movie.
Number 3 for me is Old School, and the reason why is because he steals the show.
That's fair.
He steals the show in this one. That's where I'll do one. He's gonna do one. He's gonna do one, and then he gets so good once it hits your lips. Old School, number 3.
Number 2 for me is Talladega Nights. That movie is fantastic. I will watch it anytime it comes across the TV. Always, every time. It's great.
Number 2 and number 1 for me are like 1A and 1B. It's hard for me to choose between the two of them.
Okay.
But I am going to go with number 2 is Anchorman. Anchorman.
I love Anchorman.
I mean, it was
I love Anchorman so much. I love that movie.
Society overtake, it's called Sex Panther. 60% of the time
it works every time.
I mean, come on.
Where did you get a trident? Number 1 for me is Anchorman. It's so much. I killed a guy. Yeah, Brick killed a guy. Speaking of which, you're going to need to lay low for a little while. Stay out of the news.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Number 1, Anchorman, easy. Yeah, no questions asked.
They want some diversity. What's diversity? I believe it was an old wooden ship. Number 1 for me is Step Brothers. The amount of times I'm like, did we just become best friends? Yup. Step Brothers. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Hit us up. What's your favorite Will Ferrell movie on our Everyone Loves the List? Coming up next, we've got, we're going to break down the NFL free agency, but a big free agent. Could the Royals go after, or Chiefs go after him? We'll get to that next. Text line, we've got a few different movies from one Will Ferrell. Daddy's Home.
Okay.
Not
I've seen that. I've seen it. It's fine. What?
You've seen Daddy's Home, but you haven't seen Old School.
Yes.
All right. Moving.
It is easier for me to see movies that come out while I am older than to go back and watch movies that came out when I was younger. Plus, that was just a movie my family wanted to go see, so I just tagged along. No one in my family wanted to see Old School.
Well, because they've already seen it.
And they didn't want to watch it again. What does that tell you about your beloved Old School? That no one in my family wanted to watch it again.
Probably because they've watched it so many times that they're like,
Sure.
I don't need to watch it again.
Sure.
I don't need to watch it again. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk with Kellis Robinett coming up in the 2:00 hour on all things K-State as they took care of business against Baylor last night. And that was a terrific second half. I mean, really good second half. Big kind of news today. You knew it was going to happen, but until it actually happens, let me ask you this.
Yeah, what's up?
And I wonder if the Chiefs would be interested in a couple of players. Taylor Lewan got released today. Tackle for the Tennessee Titans. He's 31 years old.
Going to be 32.
Yep. Would you see what Taylor Lewan has left in the tank if you were the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs have 2 tackles right now that they do not have under contract. They are not under contract, and that is Andrew Wiley and that is Orlando Brown. They have 2 guys not under contract on the offensive line. You have the best interior offensive line in the NFL in Tooney, Creed, and Trey Smith. 2 tackles right now technically would be Prince Tegawanogo and Lucas Niang, it looks like. Where's Lucas Niang?
No, he's still here.
He's got 1 more year.
Pretty sure.
He's got 1 more year. Would you look at Taylor Lewan?
If he has an interest in coming to play right tackle on a moderately priced deal, I would be kicking the tires.
Okay.
I am not paying him to be my starting left tackle, Patrick Mahomes.
Taylor Lewan, what's the number? 2-3 million?
I probably willing to go up to 5 or 6 for Lewan because when he's healthy, he's still very good. The problem is he doesn't have knees. Like, and I mean this as respectful as I can to the other one. He has had 2 ACL surgeries in the past few years.
When you say he doesn't have knees.
Like, would you like to know the last time Taylor Lewan played a full season of NFL football?
2018?
2017.
Yeah, it's been a while.
18, 15 games, 19, 12, 2025.
15 counts. 15 counts as a full season to me. So it's 28.
Okay, then 2018.
What did you do in 2019?
12.
Okay, yeah.
2025. 2021, 13.
Yeah.
2022 last year, he played in 2 games.
Yeah, because he tore his ACL early on. Yeah.
So like that's my thing with Lewan. It's with the age and with the injury history. If you wanted to, get like a $5 million a year deal to be your right tackle, I'd kick the tires on it. It'd be a little more expensive than Andrew Wiley, probably. But I think Taylor Lewan probably got a little more left in the tank to where he's going to be better than Andrew Wiley. But outside of that, it's the age and the injury history. I know 32 is not that old, but comparatively to the guy that we would have to compare this to, which is Orlando Brown.
Or Andrew Wiley.
How old is Wiley? Is he like 28?
Yeah, he's 28.
Wow, I got that on the money. Press.
He'll be 29 he turns 29 in August.
Yeah, so you're going for a little bit older of a guy, but also at times better players. Like there's some things there, but at the same time, I'd pay $5 million for Andrew Wiley with what Andrew Wiley should have been in the Super Bowl, it should have been what he can do. If Andrew Wiley wants $5 million a year, I'd think about it. So I mean that just comes down to it. I'd kick the tires. I'd call him. I'm not giving him a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking him up. Like if I'm picking a left tackle for next year, I'm picking Orlando Brown. Like, that should be your left tackle next year. He is the best one on the market.
So, when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs right now, their tackle spot to me is
It's their biggest question, I think, coming into this offseason.
It's not even remotely a question.
Now, the thing is, with that question, it has a relatively simple answer. And the player that's going to be there, at least at left tackle, which is going to be Orlando Brown. Like, he's going to be there.
See, they're going to tag him, but I don't think it's a guarantee that he's going to be there. And the reason why is the money is interesting. And if Orlando Brown is on the tag, then that means you have to do a lot of other moves. Because of that $20 million cap it, because it'll be $20 million.
19.9, I think is the official number. So basically 20.
It goes up 20% of last year.
Yeah, it's the second time in a row. So you have to pay 120% of last year's tax since you're doing it 2 years in a row.
So right now, the Chiefs have in cap space for next year.
Was it 11 before they start making moves?
No, right now, because they right now, technically they're at $3 million under the cap. Okay. They're going to easily clear $20 million
when Frank
Clark gets cut. And it could be 25 if you post June 1 him.
Yep.
Kind of depends on what you're going to do there. But you're going to save $20 million there. If you cut Frank Clark and you tag Orlando Brown, that wipes that out. So now you're still at $3 million under the cap. Now, there are other ways that you can maneuver this. You can extend Chris Jones. You can,
You can trade the restructure in Mahomes' contract.
which you can, but I think it would be best if you don't have to, just like they didn't do last year.
No, I think that's the last resort
Yes.
move you make to do something is
And
trigger the Mahomes deal.
It does. If they do to determine Orlando Brown long-term deal, well, the cap hit for Orlando Brown's not going to be $20 million. It'll be
smaller.
It'll be like $8 million.
Yeah.
And now you save $20 million by cutting Frank Clark. You still got 12, plus you can do some other things, and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
The way that you create the most cap space for the Chiefs is you sign Orlando Brown long-term. If you think that's the deal to do, you extend Chris Jones another 3 years, and you cut Frank Clark, and you have all the cap space in the world. But then you've got to worry about, okay, we've got 3 gigantic cap hits in Mahomes, Orlando Brown, and Chris Jones. That might be a problem later on. To me, let me ask you this. Put your GM hat on.
Okay.
You can determine. You get to choose one of the two. Andrew Wiley. Sign him.
Okay.
To a 2-year deal.
Okay.
Worth $14 million.
Okay.
Okay. So it's roughly
$7 million AAV, but
$7 million a year to the cap.
Okay.
Or you can franchise tag Orlando Brown, and it's $20 million. What are you doing?
And I'm only giving these 2 options?
Only those 2 options.
Franchise tagging Orlando Brown. I'm not thinking twice about it.
I look at it as,
is Orlando Brown a top 10 left tackle? Yes or no? Because I think we get into the point where there is now a definitive answer to this question.
Do I think he's a top 10 left tackle? Yes, I do.
Okay, because that's the correct answer to that question. If you don't believe that, you are wrong.
No, he is a top 10 left
Yes,
tackle.
he's a top 10 left tackle.
Is he worth $22 to $25 million a year? I don't think so.
Here's the thing, though.
I don't think so.
And I'm just going to...
I think he's valuable. I think he is a better than average player. He is a top 10 left tackle, but he is going to ask for top 3 left tackle money.
Yes, he is.
Which is going to be $25 million a year. And I would not give that to him.
Here's the thing, though, and this is where I think we got to get to with some of these discussions. Yes, I understand the AAV on Brown's eventual deal, if he gets a long-term extension, will be between $20 to $25 million a year. I do not think it's a foregone. I do not think it's foregone. It's 25. I do not think it is foregone that it's 25. I think it's between 20 to 25.
He wanted that last year.
And I think Orlando Brown understands that early on through the year and with things have gotten that conversation can change. We'll see. But even so, how many years will his cap hit actually be the 25? You and I both know this. AAV means nothing. It's the actual year-by-year hits that matter the most. You and I both know this. What you got to remember is this. Depending on where you put that money, it's manageable. B, this cap is going to keep soaring. Which does not mean you need to just spend willy-nilly. $25 million per year within a year or two down the line is not going to mean the same thing that it does right now. And my other point is simply this, and this is where I go. I think the long-term deal is the best thing to try and do to massage your cap this year and next year, even the year after. And then I just keep going to this. And this is, I think, the thing Chiefs fans only understand. What better left tackle are you going to have? Do you want to sign Orlando Brown to the franchise tag, but trade him this year? Okay, who plays left tackle for you this year and protects Patrick Mahomes' blind side? Who does that?
And to me, that's the question is can you find somebody like, to me, if I could find Andrew Wiley for left tackle, if I can get Andrew Wiley for left tackle,
I ain't asking Andrew Wiley Wiley-esque player to block Patrick Mahomes' blind side.
I think for the amount of money that you get and the value that you have there, I think that is something that you can possibly do.
And I don't think that's a smart decision.
If I could, right now, if you could tell me, hey, Jake, sign Andrew Wiley to a 2-year, $14 million deal, I would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in an absolute heartbeat, because now I am comfortable with what Andrew Wiley has done. Is he elite? No, but he's not awful. And, and
if Andrew Wiley's your fifth best offensive lineman,
yes.
sure.
Yeah.
But when you're starting to ask him to be better, that's a problem.
I'm not asking
when you ask him to be more important, that's a problem.
Yeah, I think Andrew Wiley is a perfect situation for that's why I would think about trying to re-sign him.
I would love to re-sign Andrew Wiley. I'm not prioritizing that over Orlando Brown.
And so I look at Orlando Brown as I think they're in a win-win situation with Orlando Brown, because I think if you tag him and you play him on the $20 million one-year deal, perfect. Great. That gives you a year to figure out what you're going to do at left tackle. I have no problem with that. I really, really don't. The Chiefs are in a specific aspect to where I don't think you can invest as much money in two different offensive linemen the way that they will do it with Tooney and with Orlando Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I am cautious about this with Orlando Brown at left tackle. If they choose to get it to him and it's a reasonable deal, I'm all for it. I don't think Orlando Brown will want a reasonable deal. And I would also,
because yours and his definitions of reasonable are two entirely different words.
Exactly. And that's why they didn't get a deal done last year, because I'm thinking like Brett Veach. You're thinking like Orlando Brown.
I'm still even in the vein of like the Chiefs have the ability, and probably going forward will try to identify 4 to 5 players that they can pay in spans. So I'm not going to say per year, like in spans.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yes.
And you need to identify that and break that down more by position. How important is it for you to have a very high level player at a certain spot? Left tackle is important. You have one in the door. You have a guy in the door that if you lock him up for 4 to 5 years, you will not have a single question about the competency of an integral part of the offensive line.
And if it's at a price, right now, would you say the reason I have a problem with that is Trent Williams, David Bakhtiari, Laramie Tunsil. Orlando Brown's not as good as those three guys. They're not. And they require, their average year is $23 million. Like, he's not one of those guys. But is he Ronnie Stanley, Jake Matthews type of guy? Yeah, he is, obviously. That's where you're at the $19 million mark. But unfortunately, the Chiefs don't have any leverage there. He's got the leverage. So
I want to present to you a hypothetical contract for Orlando Brown. I want to present to you a hypothetical contract. 5 years, a little over $100 million, AAV of 22.4.
What's the guaranteed?
This hypothetical does not have a guaranteed in it. That would have to be decided basically what you're willing to guarantee for.
Okay, what are the cap hits?
This hypothetical does not have the year by year. It's 22.4 is the AAV. That's where we're at. We never know what the cap hits are, though. Your thing is AAV. And you said you won't give him 25. Would you give him a 22.4 AAV, his average per year? Because that's what we always talk about. Because the per year stuff, we will never know what that is until the entire thing's out. So we can decide on what average per year we'd be willing to pay. Would you be willing to pay, on average, $22 million a year for Orlando Brown, knowing that some years are going to be lower than that, and probably 1 to 2 years are going to be higher than that? Because that's how that always works. And is 22.4 a number you're comfortable with?
That is something that I would really, really discuss. It would be.
Do I think that that's where this number will be?
No. I think it's going to be north of 25.
You are so wrong on that.
You think that
it will not be north of 25?
You don't think that's what he's going to ask for?
His average AAV will not be north of 25.
I think he wants to be the highest paid left tackle in the game.
I think he has understood the situation and will not be asking for that.
I hope you're right. Because if it's 22, I probably would do that. I don't think it's going to be that. I really don't.
I think Orlando Brown is conscientious enough to know he ain't getting a cap hit higher than David Bakhtiari.
The problem
that he isn't getting an AAV higher than Jake Matthews.
But Orlando Brown wanted Trent Williams money last year.
And this is, I think, another misnomer. He wanted a big contract last year. Their argument was over guaranteed money. That was their argument last year.
Well, that's the majority of the whole entire
but
contract.
the overall contract was not going to be Trent Williams 28 a year money. It was like 5 and 110.
The guaranteed money, once the guaranteed money is over, then you can cut your guy. That's why it's all about the
that's why it
money.
mattered.
So I don't think that
I think you are still holding on to this idea that Orlando's gonna be asking for Trent Williams $29 million a year money. I'm giving Orlando Brown the credit, and the benefit of the doubt that he's intelligent enough to understand he's not gonna ask for 29.
I think they're gonna shoot for the moon.
No,
I think they will. I think
that is an incredibly asinine way to be thinking.
That he's gonna want the most.
Is he going to ask for a big contract? Yes. Is he going to be only paid like a top 5 left tackle? Yes.
Yeah.
Is he going to ask for, guys, I want $29 million a year? No. No.
Have you known what is T. Higgins asking for?
That's a wide receiver to a left tackle and two entirely different people.
It's the position.
This situation applies to the individual.
I look at any single NFL player is going to ask for the moon. That's why T. Higgins, that's why there's already rumors that, what are the Bengals going to do? Because he wants Devontae Adams' money. Is he Devontae Adams? No.
Then he won't get it, and he will settle lower. He might start the conversation higher, but he's willing to settle for much lower. Because you always start bidding high.
And that's what I'm just saying. I said
But you're acting like that's what he is. Like, if he doesn't get that, he won't say yes. My point is, sure, he might say, Chiefs, I want 28. And they're going to go, Orlando, we can't do 28. He'll go, all right, I'll do 24. And boom, he gets what he wants. That's my point, Jake.
I don't know.
You're acting like he's going to say, I want 29, take it or leave it. And he ain't.
He actually could.
He won't.
He could, because
if he does, he's stupider than I would ever thought he could be.
Well, I thought he was stupider when he didn't take 35 or whatever the 50 million guaranteed than what he had last year. So I won't put anything past. And now, if you're this is the difference between last year and this year. Orlando had no leverage last year. Play on the tag again. So now, if you are Orlando Brown, fine, I'll play on the tag this year. If I don't get what I want, then Orlando Brown will get what every single top tier guy wants. Free agency and open for business. So that's why I think he might hold out again, bet on himself again. Because how old is Orlando Brown?
27.
He is 26. When does he turn 27? December.
Yeah.
No, that's not Orlando Brown, because it says here he's 35 years old. He's 26. He turns 27 in May. If you're Orlando Brown and you make $20 million this year, which by the way is a pretty good payday, now you are guaranteed to get to free agency at 27 years old. I think he might hold out and say, I'll take the franchise tag. Then I get to pick my price when I go on the free market. Now, granted, there's some negatives to that. Like we pointed out, if you get hurt, you might be in some serious trouble. But
Orlando Brown wants long-term security. That is the entire thing they were fighting over last year.
And he got it last year. It just wasn't his number. I don't know if he'll do it again this year.
It wasn't long-term security. That was his point. It wasn't the long-term security he was looking for with the guarantees.
And if he doesn't get it this year, he'll do the same thing, because he becomes a free agent next year. So 22, I'd probably do. I probably would. I don't know if that'll be it. Coming up, we're going to talk with Kellis Robinett on all things K-State basketball. Mic'd up on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake and Fulton along with Fulton Caster. We'll get to another edition of You Did What? And how about some interesting news coming from the world of Netflix? We will get to that coming up here in just a little bit. As I can tell you this, I now have something that I'm going to be watching coming up in the summertime. So that's exciting. Little summertime must-see TV in my world. We're going to get to that coming up as well today here on Mic'd Up. But right now we're going to talk all things K-State and a fantastic win over the Baylor Bears last night, 75-65. K-State essentially held Baylor to just 55 points in the game. It was 67-55 with 2 minutes to go in the game. And yet there was that many points scored the final 2 minutes with Baylor fouling and K-State just trying to get the game over with. And to talk all things K-State, we bring in Kellis Robinett of the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. You can follow him on Twitter at Kellis Robinett. Kellis, what did you think was the most impressive aspect of the game last night with K-State sweeping Baylor?
Well, it's close between the way Keontae Johnson played on offense and the way the entire team played on defense. I think I'm maybe going to lean on defense just because, like you said, up until the last couple minutes, Baylor really wasn't scoring much of anything. They did have one stretch there in the first half where they hit 6 3-pointers and looked like, the fully healthy Golden State Warriors out there. But other than that stretch, Kansas State really locked them up. That's the first or second most efficient offense in the entire country, depending on which analytical side you look at. So it's not easy to keep them below, 80 points, let alone the 65 they held them to. So the fact that they could just make life miserable for them from the three-point line, and I thought Kansas State did a really nice job every time Baylor looked like they had an opportunity to score at the rim. There were a lot of defenders in there to make shots hard. It seemed like Baylor short-armed a lot of opportunities, and that's why they missed so many shots. And kudos to Kansas State. It's hard to sweep Baylor lately. They've won a national championship lately. They won split with Kansas for the Big 12 championship last season. But Jerome Tang in his first season swept the Bears. So that kind of shows you what they've been able to do when they played their best.
Purple Baylor beats regular Baylor this year. That is a fact. That's what's a great situation to be in if you're Kansas State. You mentioned Keontae Johnson. Did he look different? He looked springier. Do you think his little, June gloom or June swoon and dog days of basketball season stretch is over? He looked like the early January Keontae Johnson. Did you see that?
I did. This looked like the vintage Keontae Johnson we saw at the start of conference play when he was scoring 25, and you were asking, hey, what's wrong when he was only scoring 18? This was the best we've seen him look in a while, and I think there are a few reasons for that. One, Jerome Tang said that he went out of his way to give his team a little bit more time off going into this game. He noticed when they went in their road swing to Texas Tech and Oklahoma, he was maybe a little bit too demanding on the players, trying to get too much out of them by being a drill sergeant and being an angry coach. Made them run too much in practice, realized that kind of ruined their legs during games. Didn't have a whole lot to give them in the second half. And you saw that in those games at Texas Tech, they were pretty much tied at halftime, ended up losing by 8. At Oklahoma, they were tied at halftime, ended up losing by double digits. he wanted to change that narrative this time around, especially with Baylor being the team that was coming off the second leg of a road trip here. So they really separated themselves in the second half, and Johnson was a big reason why. The other reason I would say that I think he's getting his swagger back a little bit here is that he's getting more and more removed from that Florida game. I think I said this on your show last week. I really think that was just an emotionally draining game for him. He really loved his time at Florida, clearly had a lot of respect for his former teammates. His whole family was in town. I think he just put a lot of effort into winning that game. So not a huge shock that immediately after that was when he started to have his mid-season swoon there. But now that he's past that, he's got his legs back. He can refocus on other things, and I think that's a good sign for what he could do moving forward.
Marquise Noel and more, I guess, I don't want to put him in a box, but K-State had 7 turnovers in the game. Baylor scores 5 points off turnovers. You're going to win almost every game if you're K-State and you're only allowing the opposing team to score 5 points off turnovers, when in the games that they've struggled, teams are putting up north of 20. Why did they take care of the basketball better? Can you give us a reasoning? And it's not just Marquise Noel, but it was everybody. I mean, 7 turnovers as a team is incredible.
Yeah. Marquise Noel, 0 turnovers from him. That's the first time in a while we've seen him do that, and he had 10 assists. So fabulous night for him. I think he's the head of the snake right there. So you got to give him a lot of credit for what they were able to do. But overall, Kansas State didn't make a lot of silly mistakes. One of the biggest miscues they've had in the turnover department has been travels and charges. It's not always just throwing the ball away or making bad reads. Last night, that wasn't there when they had opportunities to attack the lane and there was a defender in the way. They, wisely passed the ball out and figured out another way to score in the paint on Baylor. And when they could control the ball, they did. So they were smart. They didn't commit travels. They didn't commit charges. And that's what you end up with. You are exactly right. I believe Jerome Tang's goal for every game is 11 or fewer turnovers. And I'm sure he set that goal because whenever Kansas State takes care of the ball to that degree, they're not losing. A team would really have to shoot the lights out on them to beat Kansas State with single-digit turnovers. It's when they get up to about 20, it's when they're in trouble. So that definitely shows the importance on that statistic.
We're talking with Kellis Robinett. He covers the K-State Wildcats for the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Does a terrific job. Follow him on Twitter at Kellis Robinett. All right, Desi Sills starting. What do you like about that, and do you think that's the right move?
I've got a few thoughts on it. I think it's the right move in the sense that it's led them to back-to-back victories here, and I think it's helping them play better defense. Hold Baylor to 65, and before that, they made Iowa State just look abysmal shooting the ball. I don't know how much of that was Kansas State playing great defense or Iowa State just without Caleb Grill being bad on the road, maybe a little bit of both. But clearly, with Desi in there instead of a traditional 5-man, the team's a little bit faster. Maybe they can get out and do a little bit more things on offense, and perhaps that's why their turnovers have been down lately. I still do wonder, though, if you can do that against every single team, especially as we move on and get into the NCAA tournament. There are going to be certain opponents that have size and have bigs that you're going to have somebody in there combating them more than just Naquan Tomlin. So I'm still not totally sure what I think about it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're 2-0 with this lineup, so I'm sure we'll see it again moving forward.
How many teams, though, in the NCAA tournament that could end up posing a problem with that many bigs?
Yeah, that's a great point. We are going away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
I will say, though, when Kansas State has struggled this season, like they go to Butler, Butler's not a good team. They have a losing record, but they have Manny Bates inside, and Manny Bates killed them, and they lost. Oklahoma State this weekend, they've got a really good center. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try, but he's healthy, and against a team like that, maybe it helps to have a big in there playing. So, I mean, obviously, if they ran into Purdue, maybe you'd want a big man to go up against their big guy. but you're right. They certainly could, draw a path where they don't need it, and they can stick with this lineup as long as they want. But I do wonder if they match up with the wrong team, maybe they do have to lean a little bit more on David than Dez.
You mentioned the Oklahoma State Cowboys. K-State on the road has not been good. How do they change that? I mean, and in all honesty, anybody on the road in the Big 12, it's hard to win on the road. I mean, every single team this year in the Big 12 has had a swoon where, I mean, even KU, oh my gosh, they've lost 3 in a row. If they lose to Kentucky, that's 4 in a row. Oh my goodness, KU, they're broken. And KU's probably going to win the conference by 2 games. You know, on the road for this Cat team, what do you think Jerome Tang has to do?
That is a great question. They've not been good on the road. They have not won away from Grandma's Coliseum since, you got to go all the way back to early January when they won that game with Baylor. Since then, they've lost at TCU, at Iowa State, at Kansas, at Texas Tech, at Oklahoma. So can they break that losing streak? It's not going to be easy against Oklahoma State. You can look at what they've done lately and say, wow, they're in that middle of their swoon that you're talking about. They can't seem to beat anybody here lately now that Avery Anderson is out injured. But by the same token, they're going to be desperate. They're still in the mix for an NCAA tournament bid. You better believe they're gonna bring their best effort against Kansas State on Saturday. So how do you combat that? I think you gotta play the most energetic lineup you can and try to get off to a good start. And it sounds simple. It's what we've been talking about. You got to find a way to limit turnovers on the road. When Kansas State loses games, it's traditionally because they turn the ball over. And not only that, they have bad turnovers that lead directly to the opposing team scoring easy buckets. That's what hurt them against Oklahoma. It's what really hurt them against Texas Tech. So can they limit that against Oklahoma State? We'll see. The Cowboys do have a very good defense, so maybe you don't have to go in there and score a ton of points, be a little bit more conservative, and hope you can win a close one.
They've got 3 games left, and they're not the most daunting games. At Oklahoma State, home against Oklahoma, on the road against West Virginia. Where are you thinking this team finishes the last 3?
Well, I think they'll beat Oklahoma at home. I'll go ahead and give the Kellis stamp of approval on that one. Revenge on their minds, and Oklahoma not having a ton to play for anymore. I think they'll win that game. West Virginia, I think they lose. I think it's going to be tough to go all the way over to West Virginia, take that long flight, and play the Mountaineers on Senior Day when they're really going to need that win to make the NCAA tournament. The toss-up game for me is Oklahoma State. We just mentioned it. They're really good at home. They've got a really good defense. They caused fits for Kansas State when they came here and played the first time around. They just couldn't score enough points in the second half to keep up. Reminds me a lot of when they played Texas Tech here the first time. Then they go down there and they lose. So it's going to be a very hard game. I think Oklahoma State might even be favored there. So I think most likely they finish 1-2 or 2-1, with that game being the deciding factor. And then they'll be, the 3, 4, or 5 seed in the NCAA or in the Big 12 tournament. That'll be an absolute war in Kansas City.
What seed do you think they end up getting with this win against Baylor? Now that they've got 4 top 10 wins, some good wins elsewhere against TCU. What do you think the seed will end up being for Kansas State? Can they get to a 3?
I think they're in great position for a 3. I think they'd have to lose quite a few games at home to fall to a 4. And I say that because the NCAA selection committee had their bracket reveal over the weekend before they played Iowa State or Baylor and had Kansas State on the 3 line. Since then, the Wildcats have beaten 2 ranked teams. You can say the Iowa State game maybe wasn't all that impressive, but the Baylor one was. There's no denying that was a really good win for them. So I think right now they're pretty solidly on the 3 line. As long as they can split the rest of their games, I think that's where they end up. Maybe they drop to a 4, but probably a 3. And the thing they'll be playing for coming home is maybe they can rise up to a 2 seed if they finish 2-1 and then do something good in the Big 12 tournament. I think you're looking at that, and where do they start? Can they climb high enough up where they're playing in Des Moines or Denver, which is what they want? I know everybody around here is really hoping for Des Moines. Them and Kansas can end up together there, and we can all relocate up there for a weekend. But if they're a 4 or one of the lower 3 seeds, then maybe they'll end up in Orlando or somewhere else random.
All righty. I got to go with my 2 for the road. Kellis, you are in charge of where K-State goes. Is it Des Moines 1, Denver 2? Where would you want to go if you had to choose between Birmingham, Orlando, Sacramento, Albany, Columbus, Ohio, Denver, and Greensboro? Where's the one? If you take out Des Moines and Denver, where do you want to go?
Yeah. Not great options there. I would, selfishly say someplace warm is to give me Orlando or Sacramento. Those places could be fun, but yeah, Denver and Des Moines, definitely what you want. I'd say Albany probably ranks last of all of them.
To go all.
That's where.
Oh, go ahead.
So that's where it is, right? Albany.
Yeah, Albany. Yeah. MVP Arena. Who even plays at Albany? Is that where the Great Danes play?
Yeah, the Albany Great Danes probably play in Albany, New York. Is just a guess I'd have.
But like that's not a big.
That's the capital of New York State.
I mean, Jeff City's the capital of Missouri. That doesn't mean anything.
Fair.
Carson City's the capital of Nevada. That don't mean anything. But yeah, okay, I got you on that one. I'm all right with that. I'm okay. How many players make first team All Big 12 for Kansas State?
I think definitely one. Keontae Johnson, I think, is a mortal lock. I don't think he'll be quite strong enough to win Player of the Year. I think that's going to go to Jalen Wilson at Kansas. I think his numbers are a little bit better. But Johnson should be on the first team. And then I think Noel is there too, so probably lean and go 2 there. My only question with him is that there's just so many other good guards in the conference. And when you look at what a guy like DeJuan Harris has done at Kansas lately with the extreme amounts of defense he's playing, maybe somebody leans him instead. It could be a toss-up there. But I'd say right now I'm leaning 2. I think Marquise and Keontae both make it on.
Kellis, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the week, and then safe travels to Stillwater.
All right. Thanks a bunch. I'll let you know how it goes.
Oh, we're going to ask about the trip to Stillwater because that's going to be part of our book that we're going to help Kellis put together is the trek around the Big 12.
Yeah.
I have we have got creative inspiration on that, Fulton, because we have said, Kellis, you need to do something of this nature.
Yes. I listen, it's a book I'd buy.
I would too.
Kellis just needs to create the guide to Big 12 road trips.
Exactly.
Just places to stop, highways to take, hotels to stay at.
Exactly. I mean,
it'd be essential to any new person joining the Big 12 ranks.
Oh, yes, Fulton. It's the perfect time because then people in Cincinnati and Houston and UCF and BYU and Arizona State, Colorado, Utah.
Our good friends out there in Provo could use it.
It's like nonfiction.
It's not like it is.
Well, it's like, you could put this as file this under, like a
travel guide.
A travel guide. Yes. Perfect. Speaking of,
yes, Jake,
does K-State get Noel and Johnson on first team?
I think there's a chance. I'm with Kellis that Keontae to me is a lock.
See, to me,
if he's not, I'd be disappointed.
To me, there are, I almost want to say two no questions asked locks in Keontae Johnson and Jalen Wilson.
Agreed.
And then the reason I don't know about Mike Miles is because he got hurt.
Yeah, Mike Miles is a question because he would take up one of those guard spots. DeJuan comes down to, where does it go on some of the offense this year and the struggles he had. But I think defensively alone, it could. I don't know.
I don't think Harris gets on first team. And And because I think Marcus Carr for Texas is as close to a lock as you can get without being a lock.
Yeah.
I really do think Marcus Carr, if you're the team who finishes second, you're gonna have somebody on the first team. That's just the way it works. So that's why I look at Wilson.
Man, and also, I mean, if we're talking guards, I mean, Flagler, Cryer, Keontae George, all three of those guys have had great years.
Oh yeah, no question. I'm starting to lean Marcus Carr as a lock now. So I think three guys are a lock in Johnson, Wilson, and Marcus Carr. Then where do you go with the other two?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's Cryer or it's Keontae George. We have two Keontaes on the Big 12 first team.
We could have both Keontae George and Keontae Johnson. Yeah. It's a difficult thing. And listen, it'll be no shame to Marquise Noel if he doesn't make all the Big 12 first team.
It's not.
There's just a lot of great guards in this conference. And I think there's like 7 guards that are all deserving of being all Big 12 first team. 2, essentially.
Man, Marquise Noel leads the Big 12 in assists.
Yeah,
and it's not even close.
No, it's not. It's not even close.
He's over an assist and a half over DeJuan.
Yeah.
Could it be? I just don't think Harris scores enough.
And that's what comes down to what do the voters think, because I agree with you, raw scoring numbers, DeJuan isn't there.
To me, Noel and Harris are lock second team.
Oh, they're locks. If they're not first team, they're second teamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think there are 3. I think Carr's in there.
What has Carr done in Big 12 play for Texas?
He's the 3rd leading scorer in the country.
Okay, I didn't know. Yeah. I don't pay attention to Texas basketball.
No,
I could not tell you anything Marcus Carr stats. I know he plays well, and I don't like to see him when he plays KU. But outside of that, couldn't tell you what he's been doing. And 3rd leading scorer in the Big 12.
Who's the leading scorer in Big 12 play? Conference only stats.
I want to say Jalen, but that feels wrong.
He's number 2.
Okay.
By 8 points. 8 points.
Who's number 1?
Marquise Noel.
Man, those first 3 games really are helping him.
I mean, the 6 points that he scored at the end of the game last night.
That also helps. But God, that's my thing. Like, yes, Marquise Noel is leading the Big 12 in conference only scoring. Marquise Noel also did all of that in like a 5-game stretch to begin conference play.
I think Marquise Noel actually is going to be on the first team.
I think he has a chance. But they're going to look.
He leads the Big 12 in scoring and leads the Big 12 in assists in conference only.
Yes, and also at the exact same time, he leads the Big 12 in scoring because he scored like 90 points in 3 games.
And
but the voters are going to look at overall body of work, not just the raw number. Like, sure, the number is high. It's also weighted by a thing he did 2 months ago. Not 2 months, 1 month ago.
What does that matter? The numbers are numbers.
But that's my entire thing with DeJuan Harris. He's had some good games. He's had plenty of games with scoring droughts. That matters. That matters.
Yeah.
Marquise Noel has had some great games. I'm not trying to disparage that. He's also had some very rough patches. That matters. I think Marquise is very deserving of being first team all Big 12. We talk about Mike Miles. When Mike Miles has been healthy, fantastic guard. He also missed a bunch of games with injury. That matters.
Who leads the Big 12 in steals?
I'm going to guess DeJuan.
No, he is 6th. But
really?
Tied
6th?
Tied with.
DeJuan, what's wrong with you?
Tied with McCullough.
Okay. What's wrong with both of you? You should have more steals.
Yeah, you would think that.
Yeah, I do. That's why I guessed them. Who's number 1?
Marquise Noel. I think
Marquise has got a lot of great stats. I don't disagree. His finish to the season matters.
The finish to the season, but also I don't care how you slice it. If you're averaging 20 a game in the Big 12,
I know,
and you're leading the Big 12 just in conference statistics only, I don't know how you leave him off that.
I don't disagree. It will be a tough decision.
Wow.
Like, I think Marquise is deserving. I want to make that very clear so no one can try and say I'm hating on K-State. Marquise Noel is very deserving of being a first-team All Big 12 member.
I think your top 5 go like this. Right now, if I were to vote.
If you had a vote.
I would go, Jalen Wilson should be unanimous player of the year.
Yes. Jalen Wilson is your Big 12 player of the year. Let's just wrap this up.
Wilson.
Get the name engraved.
Wilson, Keontae Johnson, Marquise Noel, Keontae George, Marcus Carr. I think that would be my 5.
So Jalen and Keontae are your big men on that 5.
There's no more big men.
I know.
There's no more big men on that.
Know.
It's just top 5 players.
It should be.
Yeah, so I think that's what I would vote right now.
Man, imagine that starting 5 if they got to play together.
There wouldn't be enough basketballs to go around.
There would.
Coming up next, we've got our that definitely.
There would need to be 5 basketballs on the court.
Coming up next, we got our edition of You Did What, and we're gonna get to what a coach had to say.
Yeah, we are.
That's incredible. We'll get to that next. All right. Nate Oates, who's the head coach of the Alabama basketball team. They've had some interesting they've had an interesting month. So 2 players are in some trouble. And when I say some trouble, I mean One player is going to go to jail for a long time.
Rightfully should.
Brandon Miller, who was injured at the time for Alabama, killed a guy. Wait. Allegedly.
Well, hold on. No. A different player, not named Brandon Miller, killed a young woman who was 23 years of age.
Yes.
Brandon Miller allegedly, and more than allegedly, apparently confirmed, provided the weapon used in the murder.
Yes.
His teammate asked him for a gun. Brandon Miller gave it to him. And then that weapon was used in the fatal and tragic killing of a 23-year-old woman by his teammate. And his head coach, upon this, all of a sudden, all coming out, because it was revealed in testimony just the other day that this happened. And then, of course, Nate Oates is asked about it. And Nate Oates just goes, yeah, we knew about that. Can't control what guys are doing off the court all the time. It is what it is. We all move on. I'm like, brother, your star player is a potentially an accessory to a capital murder. And your response is, well, whatever. It's disgusting. Like I don't care if at the moment we're still like the fact Brandon Miller should not be playing basketball right now.
So Darius, I want to get this correct here.
Yes.
Darius Miles was the teammate who killed this young woman.
Correct.
Brandon Miller is the top 10 NBA draft pick.
Yes, Brandon Miller is a lottery pick player.
Freshman, yeah.
Yes.
And Brandon Miller allegedly, it's his gun.
Yes.
Nate Oates went with the boys will be boys aspect of it. He did. He said wrong spot at the wrong time.
So, and more importantly,
that's
like
not wrong spot. Wrong spot, wrong time is like you're out and about and something happens at that time that you had no control over.
Yes. No. And moreover, just to put a little clear to this, it was Darius Miles was the player who is the one facing the murder charges.
Yes.
It was his gun that he owned that was used. He, according to the police documents, texted Brandon Miller and said, hey, man, bring me my gun. And Brandon Miller was like, shoot, all right, man. Like, that's what happened.
I just can't believe. Here's the you did what aspect of it. It's not all of that. It's the head coach of Alabama going, can't control everything. Boys will be boys. Wrong spot, wrong time. Does Nate Oates not realize the gravity of this situation?
Yeah. I
don't think he does.
I don't think he does. Because that is a very flippant response to your player bringing a teammate a weapon. Seriously.
Wild.
Like, it is, I mean, insane.
Oh, yeah. That's my you did what.
It's insane. I'm right there with you. There's nothing else we could be doing today.
NATO's, what are you doing, my guy?
NATO's just sitting in front of press conference going, boys will be boys. Yeah, look that into the face of the parents of the young woman who no longer is with us. I was like, well, like Brandon Miller, man, you got to be smarter than that. And I don't mean smarter and, help your butt. No, it's just nothing good is going to come. Like, maybe ask your teammate more closely why all of a sudden he wants his weapon brought to him. Why can't he get it himself? Why does he need it? Why do you have it in the first place? When now she's like, all right, dude, I guess you want your gun. I'll just come bring it to you.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Straight up. That's not, it's insane. And Nate Oates just not apparently into the gravity of the situation. And just kind of reports like, yeah, we all knew. We never said anything.
What they do.
Can't control what they do. He's just off the court doing his thing. It's like, yell at other people for lack of institutional control. other programs who have the quote unquote lack of institutional control don't have their star player bringing a weapon that was used in a murder. That's lack of institutional control.
He said that.
Yes, he
in
did.
A press conference.
He then finally, at the end of the night, walked it back and said, issued the classic, "I'm sorry for what I said. I know this is really important. I know I should have been more careful with my words." No, man, the first thing you say is more to the truth than what your little walk back is.
Yeah, for sure.
You because he's your star player, you didn't think it was important.
You should have went with the I cannot comment on
Yes,
the
just say I can't comment this time.
Coming up next, some news coming out that I think Chiefs fans are going to be excited about. We'll get to that next. Few minutes ago, just tweeted this out. Announcing Quarterback, a docuseries following the 2022 NFL season through the eyes of Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, and MVP and Super Bowl champ Patrick Mahomes. Unprecedented access for the first time ever. Players are mic'd up for every game. Premieres this summer. I think the name is awful. Announcing Quarterback.
I mean, the show is probably just Quarterback. and they're announcing quarterback the show.
They could have worded that different if that's the case.
I mean, yes, we can yell at them for wording their press release
Don't
terribly.
don't really care. But this follows in line what Netflix has done.
Yeah.
They did the F1 docuseries, which is the reason why fans in America now even know the name Lewis Hamilton and the F1 series, and why F1 is going to Vegas and going to be driving down the Vegas Strip for an F1 race. Then you've got currently going on right now, Full Swing, which is the golf docuseries.
Has that started?
Yes.
Okay, I need to catch up. I need to get back on board here.
I've watched 6 episodes.
Oh, geez, I'm really far behind. What's your opinion of it, though, Har?
It's okay.
Okay.
I was wanting a lot more.
Okay.
You're
not getting as behind the scenes access as you wanted?
No, I'm not. The first episode I thought was boring.
Okay.
It's Jordan Smith and Justin Thomas. It was not that exciting, to be honest with you. They're so well known that you kind of can see that. There wasn't a whole lot in that episode.
Okay.
The Koepka episode was interesting, but they could have done a lot more with Koepka. He basically just walks around moping and complaining that he's not playing well. That's frustrating. It also shows that he'd rather still be a professional baseball player, because golf is not where his heart is. He does it because he's good at it. The Joel Damon one was very good.
Okay.
Tony Finau was pretty good.
Okay.
I liked those. Dustin Johnson was pretty good.
Okay.
That's refreshing what Dustin Johnson had to say.
Mhm.
Because they talk about live golf. And Dustin Johnson just basically point blank points out and says, look, it's about the money. I don't care about anything else.
Listen, I respect the move. Anybody that does things purely for the money, and they just say, don't make it anything else. Don't lie to me that it's about other things. Just Dustin Johnson's like, don't be like feeling others like, it's about, having competition and trying something new and growing. Like, no, you just got offered a really big check.
Yeah.
And Dustin Johnson's like, yes, I got offered a really big check.
And that's what he says. He goes, look, I got offered to make a ton more money for just showing up, and I don't have to golf as much.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame him.
And he's fine with that. Whereas you got like Ian Poulter's on there and he's dancing back and forth. It's like, I hope I can do this. Like, you chose to do this.
Yeah.
Now, maybe in time things will change, but don't make it out what it's like, I'm trying to grow the game, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can't say that. If you want to go there, go there. That's great. That's fine. Like, everybody's got a price. But they didn't get in that with Koepka.
Yeah.
Like, Koepka's always said, like, Koepka's always said, I want to win majors. I want to play against the best. Well, if you want to win majors and play against the best, it ain't on lit.
Yeah.
It's not. Everybody's got a price. But they didn't get into that. And so I was a little bit bummed about
Another
that.
man was always right.
I was a little bummed. It hasn't been as great as I'd want it to be honest.
Yeah,
I was
fair.
expecting like F1 style where everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's okay.
Docuseries need personalities to make them better.
It's okay.
You need personality. You guys be willing to speak their mind.
In this, I am fascinated because it involves Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what we get to see with Pat.
And one, off the field, what kind of access are they going to give?
Yeah.
Are they going to be honest with you? I mean, the video shows him kissing his wife and holding his daughter, like that, and you got, and it's 3 different real, you've got a quarterback in Marcus Mariota, who's kind of a journeyman at this point in time. Yeah. And then you've got the best quarterback in the NFL. And then you've got Kirk Cousins, who is an above average quarterback, but can't win on the big stage.
I'm super excited for the Marcus Mariota episode we get where he finds out he's been benched and he just decides to all right, leave the team for the rest of the year. That's going to be a fun episode.
So that's what I think could be interesting.
No, I think it could be.
But specifically Mahomes and what he has to say and just how much info and what are you going to, I think that will be telling.
As someone who's always been a proponent of let athletes show personality, let them humanize themselves, I like these docuseries things, especially when they can be in season 2, because you can get an idea of just who these guys are as people, not just athletes. Kirk Cousins, I just will always make my jokes about because he can't win primetime games. And he's, a fine quarterback, but you're not winning a championship with Kirk Cousins.
No, you're not.
I am intrigued to see what Kirk Cousins, the man, is like.
Yeah.
Will I like him? I don't know.
This is interesting.
Marcus Mariota, I think from a journeyman perspective, like, it's very funny that these are the 3 quarterbacks that are chosen because they are 3 vastly different perspectives of like face of the league, pretty good, but can't win a championship, and then just guy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fascinated with that.
Guy.
No offense to Marcus Mariota, but just guy.
Man, I loved Marcus Mariota in college.
I did too. I thought he was going to be so good. I thought he was going to be so good. I've always been very sad that his career hasn't panned out. But at the same time, like, I find Marcus Mariota, the person, has always been fairly entertaining and just a fairly, likable guy. So I'm intrigued, at this point of his stage of his career when he's been kind of bouncing around, what does he think? And then I will always take more Patrick Mahomes behind the scenes content. The man is the Jordan of the NFL at this point, and so I will always take learning about how petty he is and the things he does on his free time. But be prepared, folks. It's probably going to be a lot of just Pat talking football. Because apparently that man during the season does nothing else. Doesn't even golf. All his golfing is the offseason.
Jacqueline Dahl just tweeted out, surprise, we filmed it all. Film emoji. Can't wait for fans to get a front row seat to witness the time, dedication, and balance it takes to be a Super Bowl winning MVP. Coming to Netflix this summer.
So excited. It's going to be great.
She is her Twitter profile says, Mom.
Cool.
Marketing agent.
Cool.
CEO of One Up Sports Marketing.
Oh, cool.
So I wonder if that's Patrick Mahomes somehow connected with Patrick Mahomes. But either way, the fact that you're going to get some of that, a peek behind the curtain a little bit.
It's fun.
Yeah. See, that's the one thing about the Netflix, the golf series, is you do get to see a little bit behind the scenes on what they do and how they go about it and that type of stuff, which is interesting. Yeah. It's just not in me, and maybe my expectations are too high for the golf.
Yeah, that's what it could be.
F1 was just incredible.
Expectations always are important in actually how much you enjoy a product.
And I didn't know a whole lot about F1, so when I watched it, it was
you did learn. And that's the thing with you in a golf series, all this stuff.
I already know, like 80% of this I already knew.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get a little bit more stuff that I didn't know.
And it's harder for you to get more because you already are from a hot. For me, I know less than you, so I might get more out of it for that.
But I did like that DJ finally just flat out said
it makes me respect Dustin Johnson more.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me respect him more. I'm just like, all right, dude, I might not agree with your decision, but at least you ain't lying about why you did it.
Yeah.
That's what I've always said with those type of decisions. Just that in cheating. Just don't dance around it. Just say, I did it. It is what it is.
The cover-up's always worse than the crown.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, 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 very simple.
Oh, 100%.
And Ian Poulter's like, I want to be Ryder Cup captain and all that. Well, at this point in time, you chose the money, which is fine, over being a Ryder Cup captain.
You can't have your cake and eat it too.
And you chose that, and that's fine. You just have to accept this. Now, maybe in 10 years, if Liv is not going on, if it's still going on, and there's still a rock relationship, you gave up that opportunity to do that. You chose that. Now you got to live
Choices
with it.
have consequences.
Exactly.
They always have consequences.
Yeah, that's why they're all like, well, we should get, official world golf rankings. We're playing too. It's like, no, you're playing 54 holes, no cut, and your fields are not very good. And it's a shotgun start. That's not a real tournament. Unless you play real tournaments, you don't get ranking points. That's just the way it is.
The way Liv plays golf is like a small rando tournament in cities with amateur golfers.
And that's
what it is.
And it's
fine.
Ain't
world golf ranking points worthy.
No, you're not that tour right now. Yeah. Maybe in a few years or next year or whatever, maybe you expand, but 54 holes, no cut.
Listen, as long as the Saudi government has an interest in keeping this going, it'll get to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Because they ain't making no money on the CW. Coming up next, do you have the CW app?
Is it downloaded on my Xbox at home? Yes. Have I opened it in more recently than a year? No.
What are you watching on the CW?
So at the time, no. So I'm a big Supernatural fan, and Jared Padalecki was a big star from that, was in the Walker Texas Ranger reboot. And so I tried to watch that on CW.
It
was not enjoyable. It was not enjoyable.
You watched Walker, Texas Ranger non-Chuck Norris edition?
I watched the reboot because I liked the actor. It wasn't great. Chuck, I can now see why Chuck probably makes it better.
Coming up next, we'll finish things off with the mic drop. Wrapping things up with the mic drop. Fulton, what do you got?
I'm also very excited now that Netflix announced this little quarterback docuseries thing. Gives me something to look forward to coming in the summer when the Royals probably disappoint me and I got to find other stuff to watch.
You were just so excited. And
I still am, but I'm also realistic.
Marquise Noel leads the Big 12 in scoring, assists, and steals in conference play in 15 games. That's incredible. I don't think anybody saw that coming. No way. That'll do it for Mic'd Up 580 Sports Talk coming up next here on 580 WWW.